We're back live on Facebook after the horn. First time we've been here in probably about 2 years, and first time we've actually done it on this channel. So, of course, for those who don't know me, I'm Tom Wujek. I am one of the hosts of Buffalo After Dark. Welcome back. It is great to see everybody. Sabres game is almost wrapping up, and of course, I want your comments. I want you guys to call in, give us a shout. Meeting ID and passcode are in the chat. You can actually jump online and talk with me here. And of course, we've got our phone up and running. So a couple of things that I do want to say is that who would have thought that the Sabres would be winning against Montreal 5-1? And there's about 2:27 left in the period right now. But who would have thought that that would have happened? I mean, this is just a great game and a really nice way to start the season. And I have to say, the Sabres have really controlled every part of this game so far. And one of the interesting things that I can tell you is that when opening all time at home here in Buffalo, the Sabres are 17-11-5, and we're also 5-2-3 in all-time openers against Montreal. So it's not a bad way to start. But one of the things that I also want to mention is that we have Katie Trent. We haven't seen her in a long time. Welcome back. Great to see you in the comments here. She said she's sad. Katie, why are you sad? I mean, this is actually a good day. Buffalo's up 5-1. So it's not a bad thing. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to go to some of the highlights. I'm going to talk to you about what has happened in this game so far. And the biggest thing that I can tell you, the 5-1 score, it absolutely is indicative of what the Sabres have done tonight. And the lineup that they had actually impressed me quite a bit. So basically the way the game started off, 6:40 into the first period, Kyle Okposo gets on the board with assisted by Bryson and Miller. And then to close out the second period, Zemgus Girgensons assisted by Miller and Eakin at 17:35. And I gotta tell you, where has this Kyle Okposo been? It's like he found the fountain of youth now that Jack Eichel's gone. So we'll get to him in a moment. And then in the second period, Chris Weideman got Montreal's only goal on the board at 9:33 a second, assisted by former Sabre prospect Joel Armia and Perreault. And then Victor Olofsson ends up getting on the board at 17:05 in the second from Bryson and Skinner. So Bryson actually has a 2-assist game at this point. And then Anders Bjork closes out the third period at 19:04 with a goal assisted by Girgensons and Hinostroza. That line has been good tonight. I will absolutely tell you that. And then in the third period, at 4:29, Tage Thompson assisted by Skinner and Olofsson. So Skinner gets his second assist so far this season. So really nice to see everything that's been going on. The game is about to close up. There's only about 30 seconds left. So guys, jump on. Let's talk about it. But the big thing that I will tell you is, and of course, we got Bobby Hansen here in the chat too. Jump on if you want to talk a little bit about it. Katie Trent's also saying, because everyone is enjoying their opening nights and she has 2 more days to go until the Bruins opener. Well, hey, we can't help NHL scheduling. It is what it is. But some of the things I noticed in tonight's game, number one, the speed. The speed has absolutely increased, and it is officially a final 5-1. Craig Anderson gets his first win as a Buffalo Sabre. But the speed was absolutely a big factor in this game. And one of the other things that I can also tell you is that the way that we controlled the game defensively when we needed to. One of the things I noticed that this group was doing compared to what we've seen the last couple seasons is that we were outright shutting down plays in the zone. And we were staying a lot lower in the zone than what we've used to. So a lot of times what'll happen when you have some odd man rushes and when you also have some offensive opportunities, one of the things that I've noticed several times tonight is that we had 3-4 players right in the crease. I mean, they were shielding Anderson, and they were helping eliminate a lot of those chances. And the number of blocks we had tonight was also up there, because what I noticed is that the younger guys that we have on this team, they were not afraid to put their body on the line, and they were not afraid to go ahead and and make the stops. Katie also says in the chat, also, everyone needs to calm the F down about Eichel at the Red Sox game. He was at the Red Sox game tonight? Really? He was at Fenway? Who knows? But anyways, that's what ended up happening. So, I mean, that was one of the other things I noticed. And then just the way that we were attacking the puck and controlling the puck possession. This reminds me of Seattle versus Las Vegas the other night, or Seattle versus Vegas. And Vegas is a very good team when it comes to controlling the puck, and they're very good defensively. And I saw some similarities in how they play with their younger core, similar to what we're doing. And even the Seattle Kraken, to an extent, I noticed a lot of similarities here as well. So that was definitely nice to see. Overall stats tonight, Sabres, 36 shots on goal. 36 shots on goal. When have we seen a number that high recently? But Sabres led the shots on goal 36-31. They led the faceoff percentage 53-48. 3 of 6 on the power play, whereas Montreal was 0 for 4. So right there, huge night, especially on the power play. And we had some very good penalty kills throughout the night too. 8 penalty minutes for the Sabres, 12 for the Habs. Sabres have 9 hits. Montreal had 18. I would like to see some more hits, but Okposo actually did get the Grubel collision in the game, or the Gerber collision in the game, now that we call it that. 16 blocks versus 9. That's a big difference maker, and they were doing it down low. They were not afraid to handle that in the crease. Now, the one thing I will say, the Sabres did have 9 giveaways versus 4, so that has to improve. And with the way that this team was playing, I mean, we have to remember, this is still a very young group. And when you look at the lineup that they had, the players that were in tonight, such as Eakin, Cousins, Hinostroza, Middlestat, Asplund, Cajulia, Bjork. I mean, that core, I think we're starting to see something here. And I think that it is very possible that we could absolutely, not have a disaster of a season. I mean, this team was ready tonight. So I will definitely mention that. If you guys want to get on the air, feel free to give me a call here. I am at 929-205-6099. Use the meeting ID 868-837-9835 and passcode 406651. Gets you on the air. Talk to yours truly. We're going until 10 o'clock tonight. Chris Carrillo, who's one of the contributors on our page, says go Sabres. And then Katie Trent says, yeah, he was on the night that they clinched the American League Divisional Series. So it is what it is. And Jack, I mean, the fact that you weren't even mentioned in the lineup tonight and you weren't even mentioned on the roster, that tells you something. It means you're welcome in some ways. So another thing I do want to talk about is before the game, the tribute to Rene Robert, and the number 14 is going to be on the ice all season. Personally, and I know Bobby mentioned this when we were talking off air, and of course he's on Buffalo After Dark, and he has the Show Coffee Chat also on our Horns and Hooves Entertainment page. He would have liked to see a patch for Rene Robert, and I think that would have been nice to do. Now, it didn't happen, unfortunately, when Rico passed. I know that the last time that anyone had a shoulder patch or had the patch on was basically when Northrop Knox and Seymour Knox passed away, and that was more than 10 years ago. That was before the Pagulas even owned the team. So I will say that yes, it would have been nice to see it, but at least they're honoring Robert with the 14 on the ice. So that part's nice, and they did a nice little tribute for him. And it was interesting, actually. Someone was wearing our contributor Justin Eric actually had a picture that we saw where someone was wearing a Red Sox jersey with the number 9 on it for Jack Eichel, and then Jim Lawrence was actually right behind Marty Baron in that club level where they have their booth, and he was actually shown drinking with some of the guys, so he had his beer, so it's all good. Lawrence is actually pretty cool. I actually met him before. Chris Perlo mentions, was Eichel in the Sabres lineup tonight? No, he's not, and he will not be back in the lineup for a long time, if ever. for the Sabres. He is out on IR, so he is not coming back anytime soon. And basically with the way it is, Sabres want one thing for Eichel. Eichel wants another thing for Eichel. And let's not even talk about Eichel because he ain't coming back for a long time. So that's what we're at there. I will say this, Hinostroza, Skinner, and Middlestat. That was a nice combination tonight. It really was. That group played well. I will say Dahlin was definitely coming into form tonight, and he has looked better ever since Granato took over for Ralph Kruger. He really has. And the thing that I noticed also is that Coach Granato has definitely allowed this younger group to be creative with everything that they're doing. And you didn't see that under Kruger. I mean, you didn't see that offensive creativity. I mean, look at, especially if you look at some of the details of tonight's game, look at some of the pass attempts, look at some of the breakaways that occurred. Tage Thompson, Olofsson had some nice moves, and there were a lot of good chances. But the thing I also like that led to those chances is the fact that literally when we were in the zone and we were keeping the puck out of the zone, literally one pass and it goes up into the neutral zone. And that's where you want to fight for the puck. So it really, we couldn't have planned it, I think, that much better than what we saw tonight. I really don't think there could have been that much of a difference in the game plan. So I'm impressed. And I was expecting, honestly, if we look at it, I was expecting worse. Tonight, Okposo 15:53 of ice time, Gergensons 15:16 of ice time. Kyle Okposo and Gergensons both had a goal each. 5 shots for Okposo, 2 for Gergs, and both of them finished with a +1 rating for the night. So it's a good way to start. It really is. And I was gonna say, Bobby, if you're in the chat and want to jump on, or Andy, you want to jump on, by all means. Anyone who's actually watching, feel free. Come on. And we'll talk a little bit. We're gonna go until around 10 o'clock tonight. So if you guys want to give us a shout, feel free. So we still have a little bit to go. One of the other things I also want to mention tonight, as part of opening week here in the NHL, is that Tkachuk got paid today by the Ottawa Senators. So he signed a 7-year deal. So he's going to be there for a long time. And the way that ended up happening is that they decided to do a 7-year deal, $57.5 million, and basically he's a restricted free agent. And he ended up leading the Senators in points last season and ranked 2nd in hits. So Brady Tkachuk got paid. He deserved to get paid, and he's going to be there for a long time. Also, one of the other things I want to mention is that Gabriel Landeskog starts off the season getting suspended 2 games for boarding. So anyone who ended up taking a look at that game, basically what ended up happening is he ended up boarding Blackhawks forward Kirby Dach. So that ended up taking place. It was at 16:22 of the 3rd period and got the minor penalty for boarding. And then, of course, what happens under the terms of the CBA, based on the average annual salary, he ends up losing $70,000, which goes to the Players' Emergency Assistance Fund. So, hey, it's what happens. And then also, the Islanders end up making a move where they end up having a defenseman locked up for the next 8 years. Ryan Pulock ended up signing his deal with the Islanders earlier today. And basically, he had 17 points altogether with 2 goals, 15 assists, playing 56 games. And he ended up leading the Islanders in time on the ice with 22-26 as an average. So pretty solid defenseman. He's going to help bolster them for a long time. And then basically from there, I got to say, the ESPN coverage, coming back, doing the NHL on ESPN, that was fun to watch. They did a great job covering both games that they did the other night. I was very interested in watching the Seattle Kraken versus the Vegas Golden Knights. That was a fun game to watch. And I noticed some little glimpses of that here in tonight's game also. So So that's one of the other things I can definitely tell you. Chris Carrillo, what are your thoughts on Craig Anderson's first game and goal for the Sabres? It wasn't bad. I mean, he actually controlled the rebounds better than I thought he would, honestly. And he didn't have a ton of things to worry about. But here's the thing. The core on the ice helped him. And they weren't letting him get blasted with shots like what we would have seen last year when we had Allmark in net, and when we had our goaltenders last year, Carter Hutton, which thank God he is gone because he absolutely sucks ass more than anything. And I'll tell you, Allmark, if he thinks he's going to be a number one where he is now, that ain't happening. But this group, I think, recognized the fact that they have to help each other out. And a good point that I wanted to bring up during the first intermission, Kyle Okposo said that the team is like family off the ice, and now what the work they're putting in, it's translating to on the ice. Notice any similarities between that and how Sean McDermott of the Bills approaches how they handle things on the ice? You notice that? It's a culture change. And now with Jack Eichel not being in the building and not being part of the regular lineup, we have to wonder, was Eichel the problem in the locker room that was causing a lot of these issues in the first place? And that's actually one of the things that I think is very interesting. And it's actually something that I really want to dive into at a later point. So that's going to be one of the things that I do look at. What we're going to do here is, of course, any additional comments, by all means, feel free to jump on in. We're going to basically be on right now. We've actually, the funny thing is that we call this the fastest post-game show that there is. I mean, we've already gone 17 minutes. We usually go for 30. So it's really just a recap of what happened during the Sabres game. And I like to recap a couple things in the NHL also going on, give you some of my own thoughts of what I ended up seeing. And then, of course, I like to talk with you guys as well. We're going to be doing this for pretty much most of the games all season long. So it's great to have that back. One of the other things I will mention too, the pairings just seem to work. I mean, the lineup was good tonight. So we can't really worry. So we can't really run any issue there. But one of the plays, 5:42 left in the first period, Cody Eakin, man, talk about a great steal and for a great scoring chance. Absolutely. I mean, that is something we haven't seen in quite a while. So very glad to see that. It worked out very well. This team's got something. And I have to say, the crowd that was in the building tonight at the KeyBank Center, they actually were treated to some good hockey, and hockey that we haven't seen in a while. I will give credit for that. And I will say, when Granato was first brought on as the head coach, I didn't really have too many expectations for him. Now that he was hired as the permanent head coach, I didn't initially think it was the best move, because I would have loved to have seen someone like a Gallant come in, or I would have loved to see another coach that really allows the team to be creative and work with the youth very well. I have to say, it's kind of like that underdog mentality. I mean, the team doesn't care what you think about them. They're just going out there and getting the job done. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the remaining games in the season, and especially as we get in past like the first month and the first 2 months, once we get in through like 25% of the season, it would really be interesting to see what ends up happening. Because do I think that they're going to maintain this intensity the entire time? I don't think they will. I mean, I think that there will be some drop-offs, but if they can play like they did tonight, and if they can play consistently this way, win or lose, it's at least going to make the games interesting again. It seriously will. And I think that we'll start seeing the crowds come back. Well, the good thing is that the Canadian border is opening on November 1st. So the Canadian fans will be able to come out tonight and well, they'll be able to come back finally. And then that part will be good. And, we'll see what ends up happening. It'll be interesting. One of the other things I want to take a look at real quick, and basically this actually came up in the chat, is with Casey Middlestat. Now, yes, he did exit the game tonight, and he ended up being hurt in the second period. He did try to make another go at it on the ice. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So basically what's going to happen is that he's undecided on what will happen on Saturday versus the Coyotes. But right now it is just an upper body injury. So we'll just see what happens with it over the next couple of days. And I think that we'll be able to see some information coming up, especially I would expect sometime tomorrow we'll end up knowing more. So of course we'll put some more information on the site here once everything is back up with having that, and we'll go from there. So yeah, it was just basically an upper body injury. There wasn't much anyone could do on that one. So what we're going to do, of course, anyone who is watching, definitely feel free to jump on in. We're going to be on for about another 9 minutes or so. I would love to see what your thoughts are. Give us a call, 929-205-6099. It gets you on with yours truly. We're going to be doing this pretty much every week going forward. And we're going to be doing this after every game. And if it's not me, then, of course, some of the other hosts from Horns and Hooves Entertainment are going to come on. I know Bobby's been on the show before, and of course, hey, even Andy can come on as well, and of course, Luffy would be interesting. Actually, I will say this: if Adam Fitzgerald comes on this show, especially when we have a Sabres and Leafs game, I absolutely would love to do that, and we'll make it even an hour long if we need to talk about everything. But I definitely want to get your thoughts on the game. So if you want to chime in over the next few minutes, by all means, feel free, and let's do it. A couple other things we're going to do is I'm going to recap some of the games that have come up over the last couple days or so, and then of course I'm going to go over anything that's in progress at this time. Lots of action, and it's just nice to see everything back. But right now, Carolina is leading the Islanders 5-3 with 1:15 in the third. Detroit 4-3 over Tampa so far. How about that collapse? I mean, who would have thought that Tampa would have lost to Pittsburgh 6-2 the other night, and they didn't even have Crosby and Malkin in the lineup for the first time since 2003. Think about that for a moment. I mean, they just got outplayed straight up. I mean, Tampa didn't even show up in that game. Vegas and the Kings are coming up a little bit later tonight. Of course, as you know, Buffalo wins against Montreal 5-1. Ottawa beats Toronto 3-2. And then, of course, Pittsburgh ends up dropping a decision tonight, 5-4 against Florida. That was an overtime game. Rangers end up losing to Dallas 3-2 in overtime. And the blowout of the night so far, from what we have, Columbus over Arizona 8-2. Think about that. That is just nuts. And then, of course, tomorrow night, October 15th, Chicago versus the Devils, Vancouver versus Philadelphia, and Minnesota versus Anaheim. The Minnesota versus Anaheim game will be on ESPN actually at 10 p.m. So that's going to be interesting. And then, of course, the other games will be on locally. But God, 8-2. The Blue Jackets destroying Arizona. That's actually another topic I want to talk about real quick before we end up wrapping up in a little bit here. But Arizona might not be in Arizona anymore because there is possible talk. I know, especially with Gila River Arena not renewing the lease for the Coyotes, and Glendale does not want to keep them there. Houston has come out as a possible relocation option for the Coyotes. So we're going to follow that story and see what ends up happening with it. Because, I mean, if they do move, I mean, yes, it'll be in a hockey market that we haven't really seen too much of as of this point, other than just AHL. But who knows? I mean, they got to do something with Arizona because it's just right now, they're not getting that support from the fan base, and yet Arizona has not had a great team. Like literally the entire time that they have been there since they relocated, they just have not had the fan base. I mean, the original Winnipeg Jets. And I know Gary Bettman wants hockey to work in the desert. I mean, it's working in Vegas. They got a great team, but it's just the Arizona Coyotes management is not doing a great job with anything. And they haven't been getting the players. They haven't been utilizing any of the assets properly. And what happens is that they're just rotating GMs or rotating coaches and basically allow their star players like Ekman Larson are gone. So that's basically what we ended up seeing there. But Anderson for the Sabres, now to get back on the Sabres topic, Craig Anderson, 30 saves on 31 shots. Great debut, really. And, just if the team works together the way that they did tonight, we're going to have a pretty entertaining year. And I will say this. Now, the crowd in the building, I would say, was probably only about between 10 and 12,000. I mean, there were a lot of empty seats in that building. And here's the thing. Fans have the right to vote with their feet and vote with their wallet. And I will be one of the first to tell you, I do not like a lot of what Pegula has done with this team in terms of his time with the ownership. I do think there needs to be a president of hockey operations still. I do think that long-term Kevin Adams is not my choice for GM. I do think that if they can get someone more like a Jim Rutherford or someone along that example who has a lot of experience and can build a cup contender, I think that needs to happen. But seeing what has happened so far with the players that we have, it reminds me of when John Muckler was here. God rest his soul. It reminds me of when he was here and when Ted Nolan was coaching, and when they had a bunch of younger kids and not a lot of established stars. And they had that blue collar work ethic where they just worked and outworked the opponent and they would get wins. It's reminding me of that. So I will say, Granado, good job on your first win of the season. And that was a great way to start out. Another thing I want to touch base on before we end up wrapping up tonight, and of course, if you guys want to get in before we end the show, of course, 929-205-6099. Rick Jenneret, it is his last season and he sounded good. I mean, he did. So he's only going to call 20 games this year. We have the game schedule up on our Horns and Hooves Entertainment site. If you want to go onto that, it's on Facebook, the Horns and Hooves Entertainment Buffalo Sports page. We do have that there, and definitely tune in because I will tell you, for him this is his 51st and final season with this team. And I will say that in some cases, now we had a little bit of a disagreement yesterday on Buffalo After Dark, which if you guys didn't see that, we do have it on our Facebook page. It'll go up on our YouTube site later on tonight. But we had a debate on whether RJ should have left a couple years ago or whether now this is the right time. And there's going to be some debate on it. Some think that he should have probably left maybe a few years ago. You know what? Hey, RJ's going out his way, and I'm not going to criticize him for that. He sounded better than he has in quite a while, actually, I think. So the fact that he's going to be calling 19 more games after tonight, definitely watch him, and let's get it on. Let's see him before we can't see him anymore. So that's one of the big things I will tell you there. But good job with everybody tonight. And really, besides that, I think it sums it up. So, of course, Arizona versus Buffalo coming up Saturday. It's an afternoon game. And what we'll do is we'll recap that game a little bit later Saturday afternoon. Whether we go right on after the show, after the game with the show, or if it's later on Saturday night, I will let you guys know. But the plan is, we're definitely going to cover all games this season. So with that being said, Buffalo gets the win. First win of the season, 5-1. Great job. And I will see you next time on After a Horn. And until then, Take care of yourselves and each other, everybody. Great seeing you all. We'll see you next time.
After the Horn is an H&H Studio production. Produced in association with Horns and Hooves Entertainment.